Hello and welcome to the What is the Craic Irish Bodybuilding Podcast. We are back again with your host Neil Rennie and a very regular now and important part of the podcast, James Melville, for a review of the PCA Irish Classic that was just this weekend past there. Obviously, I was in it, so I'm going to be able to give my unbiased view about who should have won the overall. But James, thankfully, is here to kind of to referee that as well. But James, thank you for coming on. Obviously, you were doing all the feedback now for everybody as well. So that again, like last episode, pretty invaluable, I would say.
Yeah, hopefully. First of all, I just want to say congratulations to everybody that came to the show. Honestly, like even all the judges and most of them judges, likes of Warren's head judging on the UK mainland, and a lot of them said that the top quality of the standard at this show was probably one of the best
Yeah.
throughout across all the sort of UK shows, which was, I think that's a testament to how far that the Irish bodybuilding has actually grown. I'd also like to say I thought that the team of the judges did an exceptional job. What I've witnessed judging with that team this year is just how their attention is just completely focused to the stage at all times, and they're getting all the details. And I do think obviously there's always going to be certain like little slight disagreements, but it's like it's between those two people. I might go that way. Somebody else in the panel might go somewhere else. But in general, I thought that the actual results on Sunday were pretty bang on for the most part. So, congratulations to Warren and the rest of the judging panel as well.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a good show. Like, I think the thing for me is like I thought there'd be more depth in some of the lineups. That's which I was surprised about, especially like from a Selkin in the class two. I'd assumed there would be. It's usually one of the stronger, bigger classes, but the actual overall lineups were phenomenal. So it's like the top guys were very, very good, and they would stand very well across the water as well. But the depth of it, and I don't know why that is, because I think a lot of ones there was more signed up for it than showed up, which I suppose that's just
Yeah,
the way it goes. But the actual quality of it I thought was very good. Judging's always excellent. There's no ones I looked at and went, nah, wouldn't have had them. Or even if it's very, very
yeah,
close, you can always make an argument for it. There's always show
that's
runs well, on time. You're not sitting about for edges between classes. And even the music, the right music was played, because how many times have you been at shows and you're like, "Oh, that's not my song," or it doesn't even come on and you're supposing to something. So no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Obviously, it's one of the best days I've had in bodybuilding, to be honest.
yeah. Like that was well. We'll get to that probably a bit later on. Like, but watching yourself, I've made the connection with you earlier on the season this year, and I've had the fortunate pleasure of even having you down at the compound room for training, and it's been it's just been great to see, because you can see the love that you have for the sport, not just as a competitor, but obviously what you're doing here with the podcast, I think will become more and more valuable to people moving forward as the seasons develop. So, I think a lot of people need to give you credit and a wee bit more support during this current transitional phase where you're trying to push this Irish bodybuilding thing. But watching you on stage, I had like a real feeling at ease. I know, like even in the overall, I wish almost like I looked like I enjoyed it as much. I do enjoy it as much as you,
Yeah.
but my face, I don't wear it as much on my face, whereas you were wearing it. And I was like going, he's just lapping that up, and that's class. So
Yeah.
well done to you.
I appreciate that. I think like being down there at the weekend, it was like a little bit nearly overwhelming because so many people were coming up. You were like, I'm not saying there was any like celebrity involved in it, but it was like, wow, this is like people are actually watching this. I felt a pressure, to be honest, because of that, to deliver coming into that week. I think with the Birmingham show week before was like, we'll see what happens. Where this one was like, shit, I better, Wardy, you better land me here for this, like, because if I come off here after all this, like, I'd have been real, I'd have took it badly. Yeah, I really would have. But I just love being up there. And one of the things I remember you saying to me was like when I was watching your posing, obviously your routines and stuff, it was like just go and own the stage. They want to see you smiling, they want to see you happy, they wanted to see you genuine. And that was one of the things for me. It's like, right, every time on this stage, you've worked hard to be there. Go and actually enjoy it. And that's been one of the comments within everything. Is like you clearly love it, and it's like it's not faked. You can't fake that, Even in the overalls fighting with Adrian, I was like, oh no, mate, no, 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 I think
Yeah, yeah, that was cool. That was really good. Really nice. You guys brought really nice energy to the stage, I think, in the overall, and obviously you have a lot of big guys in that line across the line, so there's not a lot of space. There's a wee bit of jostling, which is I just think brings a little bit more energy to the stage. I was fortunate enough to be at the Mr. Olympia whenever Phil Heath and Kai Green almost started fisticuffing,
I
and like you could feel it. I could feel we're sitting 5 rows back behind the judges, and you could feel the energy in there. Whoa, like
Yeah.
the energy I thought on Sunday was just really, really good. And I think for the spectators that were still in attendance, it was like a pleasure just to watch, man. So congrats for that.
Well, what we're going to do is going to do our very best this as again to try and get through the majority of people. Now, like I'd like to have like a top three lineups. We haven't got all the photos for that, but we're going to, you'll see what we do, but we're going to make sure and give you feedback because obviously James was given the feedback. I thought it was very fair, very like quality feedback for everybody. And like it was came very punctually because sometimes like it comes too far after the fact. You're nearly like, it lose a little bit of its emphasis. Where I know guys, like I'm sure you've got competitors going this week, other competitors are going, they can kind of take some of that, especially when it comes to some of the stage presence conditioning and actually run with it and make it work for this season as well.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, it's been quite nice. Whenever you're giving out feedback and you're trying to find, like, you as somebody that's trying to develop critique for people, and I like a lot of people maybe I don't know by first name. I'm looking even at people that I know, even the likes of yourself, Neil, and I'm still trying to be as critical of whether I know you or not, and it's always trying to come from the right place in terms of like I love the sport, and I every year I want to see some of those athletes on Sunday be back in the stage next year, and maybe I'll be judging the show, and I'm going to be registering, going, look at this guy's taking the critique. Sometimes it hurts, it pinches a little bit at the time if there's a bit of a negative that you weren't really aware of, but for most great athletes, they'll take that on board. The next year they come back, and I'm going to be able to see the improvements. Not that I really matter, but the other judges will also see that as well.
Well, I think I respect that too. So obviously I have quite a good relationship with yourself and even know the other judges from just being about the PCA quite a lot. And the last thing you'd want is like smoke blowing. It's like because and I think as well as like a lot of athletes, you kind of know where your weaknesses and strengths come, but sometimes it surprises you and sometimes it confirms it as well. So it should give you an emphasis, like we said last time, to kind of push on. Like we'll talk about my own when it comes to that point, because this isn't about me, this podcast, but we'll get stuck in. I'm going to share the screen. We'll try this a couple of different
Okay.
ways. 2 seconds. There we go. This worked well last time. We had a bit of an internet fault there, so let's hope it works the same this time. So
Yeah.
I'll go on. I'll start with PCA, and I think what we'll do is we'll start just from the very first class. As I say, within these pictures, there's not it's just the winners only. But I'm going to try and go on to the class, that to the person's photos on Instagram, if I'm actually following them, and see if we can see some of them. So we started the day with, I believe, first timers bodybuilding, and I'm going to struggle to pronounce that name if I'm honest. But that was the winner of the first timers bodybuilding. Within that class, James, was there a few people in it?
There was, yes. So I have first timers. I've got some feedback, I think, from most of the people in that category. I do believe there was, just bear with me here, 5 in the category.
Yes, there.
So yeah, I'll have a crack at this. Artem Krasik
Good.
was the winner, and like first, I'll give you what I felt as soon as he walked out. Actually, there was a couple of ones, and initially I thought it was quite close between first and second. Second place was John Paul. I think it says McKee. I'm reading this off a very small database here, so please forgive me if I'm wrong. But I thought Artem came out loads of muscle. First time guy. He's obviously been in a shed somewhere just building slabs of muscle on that frame. And actually, do you know what? There's not a lot missing if you actually look at him from head to toe. You could, like, I did give him some sort of feedback on that, where, yeah, I said that he had, just make sure I've got this right. I actually thought his stage presence was really good for a first timer. He's definitely been instructed correctly. I thought that he held his poses very well. He transitioned into his poses very quickly as well, which is something, as a judge and you're sitting on the panel and you're having to take in a lot of visuals, it's frustrating whenever people are taking too much time. And like a lot of my athletes, I go, look, be first into the pose and last out. And whenever that makes sense and clicks, it also gives you, so in the overall as well, if you know you're going to be jostling,
Hmm.
get into the pose first and then make the other people look like D-heads trying to get into position. You're
Yeah.
already there. They have to move you to get their pose. So there's multiple reasons for doing it, but ultimately we can only assess the poses if you're in it. If you're still waiting, 2 minutes after it, then we've already went past. So this guy was definitely impressive. You can see in the visuals there that most muscular is pretty good. I'm gonna like based on that picture, Neil. What would you say if there was any improvements for this guy? What could he make?
To me, like, listen, I'm a conditioning snob, so I feel like he'd be tighter, he could be leaner because he has
Yeah,
plenty of muscle, and I think like that's the thing I've seen, and really this year within the PCA, even competing against guys, there's guys there that should, if we're in condition, beat me. They should because they may be more muscle in certain areas, potentially even slightly more balance. But the level of condition isn't just that Christmas. And again, he's a first timer. So that's class that he has all that muscle. So now it's like, can you nail that prep process? And that's not to say he was way off. Conditioning was still decent, but because of the amount of muscle he has, if he came in super dry, super crisp, like that's a physique that's actually fairly competitive in an overall lineup, as a first timer. So that would be
yeah.
my critique on it, really, because his legs were huge, big, big quads. When you seen him with clothes on, you're like, fuck, there's a big lad. But again, when it's down there, unless there's that level of just pristineness with it, it kind of takes away slightly from the physique.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. The condition for me was what left the door open in that category. If
Mhm.
he had come in completely crisp, I think the door would have been firmly shut. I think if you're going to be objective, he reminds me a wee bit of like Cuba Sylvester, or isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah,
In,
yep.
in, in the most in the most muscular. But the one thing that he, for me, doesn't have as much of in that most muscular would be the caps to the delt. If he had a wee bit more width across the top line there, that
Mhm.
pose is pretty complete. And then he just needs to dial that condition in. But look, you look at what are the short term critiques and what are the long term. Short term, literally, if he died it hard for a couple of weeks, he's going to come on massively improved, loads of muscle, and he's going to catch the eye whatever stage that he walks onto.
Yep.
Long term, it's just refinement. It's essentially just bringing up, like you can see there, just maybe a wee bit more cap in the delts, probably a little bit, slight bit more density across the chest. I think would be quite beneficial too. But yeah, I think he looks absolutely fantastic, mate. For a first timer, I kind of wasn't really expecting him to walk out, which is quite nice.
100 top line, like especially because the legs are so big and so developed,
Yeah,
a little bit more condition in them. Just bringing that top line thickness, especially across the upper pec and delts, as you say, just to match that. Because
yeah,
you do that, waist looks that little bit smaller, more of a sweep. That's a really, really dangerous physique, actually, at that point.
yeah.
All right, I'm going to move on to honestly, this guy was to me one of the most impressive people there actually on the day, Cuba. Like as a junior, like he has absolutely everything to go, in my opinion, all the way. And I didn't know him beforehand. I think he's trained by the Brown Panda, Steve Hurts. He
Yeah.
from his shape to his structure to his muscularity through his legs, like he looked absolutely phenomenal. Genuinely very, very good. I thought his stage presence was good. He has that look about him too, doesn't he? It's confidence
Yeah.
with arrogance. Better follow back here. Yeah,
So yeah, yeah, junior bodybuilding.
there's the side shots there again. Very, very good. Like his hamstrings, like from the side dropping. Even his conditioning as a junior was good. Like, again, we're always looking for that little bit of just extra polish. And I think if he did more so from the rear, yeah, when I'd seen him in some of the overall shots, if he had that little bit of extra polish from the rear, because again, look at the hamstrings, like glute development's pretty good too. Back width, yeah, for
Yeah.
a junior again is good. It's just from the rear. I think, like honestly, he could have been challenging again in the overall, but I believe that'll just come with time because he's a big boy too, standing beside him, and he takes up a lot of space, especially in that front lat spread.
Yeah, it was the same. I was sitting beside Nadia and we were judging, and kind of whenever he walked out, we'd kind of a glance at each other like, "Whoa, this guy's
Mhm.
structurally very impressive, really wide clavicles." So there, you can see there the width in his top line, which is always advantageous whenever you're like, for me, he's like a real classic bodybuilder.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me, like, he has that sort of narrow waist. He's a taller, particularly what's become fashionable in classic bodybuilding, a little bit taller, Chris Bumstead esque. Actually, from the back, I thought that he was very well developed because sometimes you see them from the front, oh, he looks really impressive, and you kind of expecting almost the back to be a slight letdown. I thought the back was, really well balanced as well. Being young, it's unless you know what I mean by this, you won't know. But like, it's young muscle.
Yeah.
and there is a different look to it. So like whenever you see him in and amongst the categories in his age group, he's blowing people away without a doubt. But in the overall, there's a different look to just that more mature muscle, and it does expose. Maybe if he had been a bit sharper, he could have closed that a little bit. But I think whenever you see like the density, even beside like you see the density beside yourself there, it is a slight different look.
Yeah.
But in the next couple of years, I honestly that guy could go as far as he wants if
I
he keeps making progress there.
fully agree. Fully agree. As you say, it's a younger muscle. And like a 21, 22, 23-year-old lineup, like he's
Yeah,
hard to beat because his conditioning is very, very good. But as you say, there's this level of maturity that nearly comes from just training like for a long time that comes with
that's
it
right.
that you can see. But that's really it because as a physique, it blew me out of the water. When you're standing beside, but it's just again just that little bit. It's just time. That is literally just a time thing, and it's game over for a lot of people.
Yeah, so I actually my feedback in the notes section to him was more condition in the back. And overall, I had to write it in. I just says overall an amazing athlete because I don't want a young kid like this here coming up through who has got ridiculous levels of potential. You want them to stay grounded. So you want them to understand that any negative critique is coming from the right place, but I also don't want it to be diminishing his confidence if he's got further shows to do throughout the remainder of the season. So, that's why I want to give that critique. So short term, you just need to be a wee bit sharper, and that's just going to be crazy against anybody. But then I just wanted to finish that just to say, just he's overall an amazing athlete. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Just well done.
So, like, fully agree. Like, he was class. He's one of the standouts of the day. Like, I think like unveiling like a bit of a new talent there. So, what we have now is Ernst, uh, in the novice class. I believe that's to be a good class as well. Frustrating that I can't find a lot of the photos. Do you know the name of the guy in second, James?
Let me have a look. Second novice, Simon Ryan.
Let's try. Ernie himself, just before we have a look for Simon Ryan there, he was very well muscled, like extremely well muscled. Very well conditioned as well, actually. Massive structure, huge arms, big legs. Uh, really, for Ernie, when it came to the actual overall itself, it was maybe more of a stage presence thing and actually a posing thing rather than necessarily because all the bits are there. Again, like I put a post up today about mastering your craft when it comes to bodybuilding because it's a muscle show, but it's how you present that muscle. And to me, that would be my feedback to Ernie is actually, mate, you're absolutely stacked. Like the standout body parts. Nobody has arms like that. There's not too many amateurs that run about with arms like that, with that structure, with that width. But present it because you can see even in that most muscular, everyone's coming crushed in. Where like if he's standing tall, posing well with confidence, again, like he takes his physique to the next level just from doing those little things.
Yeah, that's exactly right, mate. Again, I the critique that he would have received this week was I felt that I gave him multiple critiques, but the last note that I gave him, I says, Craic actually thought his condition was really, really good, and particularly for the category that he's competing in, novice bodybuilding. But I did say he needs to improve his posing. I felt like the transitions weren't really good. I always say to people in whenever you're posing, find your chalk lines. So where does my feet need to be placed, and then you need to make that so your motor cortex familiar with where does my feet need to land. It needs to be a feeling, so you're able to replicate the same great posing time after time. And it felt like almost every time that he posed, it looked a little bit different. So for me, there's an uncertainty as to how do I execute this. Um, yeah, so that was one of the main feedbacks. I thought his compulsories, he's got so much potential there, like the muscle mass, the roundness of the muscle, as you made reference to there. Really nice, full muscle bellies. I thought was really good. Condition was absolutely nailed. I felt, but it's just posing. But again, that can be fixed if he's got more shows this year.
Yeah.
Go and speak with somebody. If you are speaking to somebody, then just sit down with them, review the photos, the stills, and sort of go, okay, that can be improved a little bit, and then listen to what I said earlier. Get into the pose first.
Yeah. Yep.
Once you know the pose, just get into it. Don't dance about. Yeah,
It's confidence, isn't it, James? Like that's the thing. That's the type. Before I'm going on stage, I'm like, I'm the guy. I know it sounds arrogant, but I'm the guy. I'm gonna go in. This is my show. This is my stage, and it's like being the first in, being the last out, hitting them hard. Like to me, like probably too hard sometimes, a little bit over enthusiastic. Actually, as you mentioned to me at a point where like, you're kind of really over tensing, but it's just like owning it. And I think with Ernie, it's like that. That is it, mate. Like condition's good. He's a wordy client. His wordy conditioning. Like it's there. This guy is Simon Ryan. Remember this class now. Actually, I remember third being very good as well. I thought it was a very good class. Simon,
Yeah,
again, good legs, competitive. Like, and again, in a lot of novice classes, maybe takes the win, but going against an absolute monster.
yeah. That again, it's exactly right. I actually felt, yes, Simon. The feedback that I'd given him, there's like 4 points we generally give, and then the note section is just that little bit extra that I have to add into to the feedback sheet. So just bear with me a wee second. Yeah, I just said like he needs a bit more separation. It would definitely highlight his strengths a lot more. Um, I felt I would honestly as well just try to get his trunk sitting a little bit higher. If you go back to that front shot again,
Yeah, sitting a bit too low in the hip. I noticed that a few times. Well, quite a few people.
there you go. So what you're seeing there is it's making his legs go. You can see like his hips are actually higher than the trunks themselves. So if the trunks are sitting low, it's going to create this sort of avatar look. You know, the upper body's going to look longer than what it actually is. So then, and you can see that he does have slightly higher lats as well
Yeah,
in that shot. So I just think like from the front, get them trunks up, even from the back,
take them up
like even
over.
before he set those poses, just get them up a wee bit.
Yeah,
And like you know, Belle Bikinis that does. I think she did your trunks, did she?
yeah, she does all mine. Yeah,
Right. So shout out to Emma. She's just absolutely amazing. But her trunks, you'll have that little silicone rim on the inside. It just kind of creates a bit of a tack, and it'll sit pretty much where you pull them to. And they're very easy to adjust. Just make sure that you get good trunks. I would probably like if you dial the condition in a little bit more, you can see we need a wee bit more coming in through the glute. Arguably even a wee bit more into the lower back, but he's not far off. This is like pushing for a couple of weeks. That's going to be
close.
there. It's marginal.
And I actually thought it was
Yeah.
close actually between second and third, I believe. I remember the name Paul Nunez, I believe, was in third in that class. And I actually thought he was personally when I was looking at it, I thought he maybe had him. He had Ryan there, Simon there.
Paul, yeah,
Yeah,
Paul Noonan, yeah,
Noonan. Should know him was talking away. Quite friendly. Paul. There's actually a video here. Happy days.
yeah. So I've got good feedback for him as well. I think that he would have received.
I like Paul. I think he's got like, again. It's probably a bit of time for Paul just to put on a little bit extra tissue there. You can see him standing beside Ernie when you talk about Ernie's arms and getting in the pose as well. Like Paul, he posed pretty
Yeah.
confidently as well with everything. Just a little bit more size, maybe a little bit more dryness too. But I thought that was quite a close call. Especially because he had a nice midsection too, Paul. Maybe a little bit better than what Simon's was.
So you must be reading my notes here. I I actually said he had great confidence. That would have been the thing that I sent him. Like, and that's really nice. It's very hard to get somebody to look like that whenever they're on stage if they're not feeling it.
Yeah.
I got that sort of feeling from him. Like he was enjoying his time on stage as well. Thought that his confidence going in. I didn't feel like his posing was actually too bad. I did reference. Where's the other bit there? Nice condition, great confidence. Just a little bit more overall muscle needed. I felt like proportionately he's actually not far off.
Yeah.
Maybe you could maybe push for a little bit more sweep because he's actually got a lot of muscle up top there, as you can see.
Paul was men's physique last time he competed, and you can kind of see that
Right.
in his physique with the shoulders and the abs and the midsection. So obviously coming up into the bodybuilding class is probably just, yeah, as you say, a little bit more leg, a little bit more sweep there, need it as well. But I think with time, another couple of years, he can be very, very good if he keeps that midsection.
Well, yeah, that's really impressive. Yeah,
So
well done, Paul.
yeah, I thought he was good. I liked Paul's physique. He's a nice fella too, like very, very chatty guy as well. So which is always nice around the
That's
place. It sort of makes the show, when you have, good competitors, then like that's the thing with the PCA Ireland as well. Everyone kind of gets on. The goal was, create this community, and it's starting to feel like that is coming. So we have first timer classic, I believe Stephen Carl. Could be a complete guess.
Sam,
I seen S. I just went for that one.
Sam Carroll, almost.
Nearly. Nice physique, good midsection, very good conditioning, decent, pretty decent posing as well. Look quite confident, stoic up there, I would nearly say, on stage
Mm,
as well. I mean,
yeah,
as a first timer like doing this, it's good conditioning. It's always hard to nail that in the first time, and a decent level of muscle for classic through the rear, pretty decent. I'm always one going, can we get the glutes tighter? But potentially is at the expense of other things. But yeah, he's good physique, nice. He's a nice structure. Again, it's a little bit more, probably more through the quads, the adductors a wee bit more through the arms, especially in classic as well, just to frame that physique just a little bit more. And you can see there in the lineup, it was a good lineup that actually. I remember the guy in the red trunks, lovely conditioning, just again a little bit more muscle, and that's kind of the case. It's going to be the case with first timers for the most part.
yeah. Hopefully, we can touch on a couple of these guys here if we can. But certainly, yeah, my feedback in the for Sam was like he's got an amazing V taper. It's you can just see like he's got a bigger rib cage, which is very beneficial in classic bodybuilding. If you think about the likes of Arnold Schwarzenegger, the thing that was really impressive is he just had this big rib cage. So whenever he went into those sort of front shots, it was just very, very powerful. If you actually, yeah, look, so yeah, that's really really nice. Up top, as you made reference to, probably a little bit more in the triceps and the outer arm,
Mhm.
into the bicep. You would I would actually say the bicep brachii actually isn't too bad because you can see there even in that pose here, he's got actually quite a nice peak. It just seems from the outside, whenever he's hitting the likes of the back double, seems to be lacking a little bit in comparison to the delts. A wee bit more in the tricep. So 2/3 of your upper arm is tricep. So if you want bigger arms, spend 2/3 of your time with your triceps. I
Yeah.
don't know, wee bit bro science, but guys, listen up. The Other than that, like I felt like if he had a wee bit more sweep in the quads for sure, but again, that's going to be something that he can do with time, mate. Like he's got nice width across the top line, big rib cage. I actually felt that his posing was pretty good as well. So
Yeah.
congratulations.
We're going to find a few other guys in this class actually. Do you know the name of the guy in second, James? Have you got it down there?
Let me have a look. First timers classic. Second, oh, Michael Sheridan. Yeah,
Mhm, there.
Sheridan. PT. Yeah, I think that's the him.
Nice physique. I thought really nice physique, really good level like of conditioning. Again, look quite young as well. And his posing is
Yeah,
it's kind of like it's one of those, isn't it? He's like you put more muscle in that frame again, like it all moves well. But as you say, even with the trunks here as well, I know it's little things, but we talk about like mastering that craft and stage presence. Go to
yeah.
Bikini if you haven't been. Like get them trunks up a little bit more, exasperate that V tape a little bit. What beautiful biceps as well. Like, it's them little peaks, those little things, all the bells and whistles on it. Again, look at this shot, conditioning, midsection control, very nice. Just a little bit more again with muscle, but this is close. But first place was good, is deserved winner, but just quite well polished. I quite liked his physique for classic.
Yeah, like you can see his strengths are like he's really good arms. He's actually good, pretty good balance from head to toe. I did say he really needs to improve his compulsory poses.
Right.
Um, there's like I look at it and go, he could look like you can see the density in his chest and his shoulders and arms in that side profile. But whenever you go to a lot of the front poses, you miss that. Again, you made reference to the trunks. That was another thing that he needs to consider. If he had that, the sort of what do they call it, the pro cut
Okay.
of the front of the trunks, where it's sitting a little bit higher on the hip and it just sort of tapers down. Um, that's going to just create a better illusion on his physique without a doubt. Front and back poses, you can see the trunks almost look like they're falling down a little bit. Again, it's elongating his torso, and he doesn't comparatively have a long torso in conjunction with his legs, so that's an easy fix. But guys, these are things that really do matter. They're easy fixes, but they really matter.
It is mad though, like them little things, when you hear that sort of feedback, it's like, shit, like, why did I not think about that, when it comes to it? And that's not to put anybody down, but it's like, it's really trying to take everything as professionally as possible because you put so much time and work into getting the physique, and the physique's basically there, and something like the trunk's just sitting a little bit lower can throw it, and you're kind of like, why did we let that one happen? So,
I I'll actually be honest. I was judging this show initially at the start. I was leaning more towards him for the win,
mhm, yep,
but then just as it went on, the decision, so you're leaving the door open. Like I'm certain that other judges might have looked at him as well whenever he first came out and went, right, he's got really nice thick muscle bellies in his arms. Proportionally, he's pretty good. He's very good. The condition is great, but two of the main things that he can easily fix is improve the compulsory poses, and and that means your quarter turns. That's the first opportunity that we get to see you guys. I There's a lot of people will have received feedback this week, and some of my spelling comes across shocking, but I am pretty literate. I do have good spelling, guys, but unfortunately, whenever I'm having to type at the speed of knots, so I did say a lot of potential here, but I meant potential. I'm sure he gets the gist. But yeah, I think a really good future. I'm looking forward to actually seeing him back on stage because most of the things that he can improve can be improved in that short term.
absolutely. We're going to jump on because I want to keep people's attention as well. If we're getting the top two, I think we're doing a good job. So the actual eventual overall winner, Andreas. Now, Andreas was a PCA pro, I believe, as a men's physique. So obviously was allowed to
Was
compete as an amateur again because he moved up into classic. But like, what a physique! Brilliant stage presence. Like, I'm here. It was a good lineup. Real good battle between him and Graham. Like, and it's kind of like, what do you like? And I think there's probably a few pictures on here I'll be able to kind of look with here on this one. Should be Andreas likes a picture. He's a big personality, and you know what? It showed on stage too. But like, lovely V taper, like you sort of said as well, him to at like a good solid level of conditioning. Before we went into the overall, I said I think Andreas wins it because I think he's the best representation of the class that he's in. Now, I'll talk about the overalls after, but initially I'd have said Adrian all day, but then when I seen Andreas and I seen the way he held himself, the way he sort of posed as well, there's wee bits he can definitely do there still. I mean, would I like to see him at a top level a little bit tighter? I think he can be through the leg, through the glute, but you can see it's a really solid class. The top three in that class were very, very good. And I'm able to click on a few of these boys too. But yeah, it was solid, very, very good.
I I thought the top two did a fantastic job. They brought really good level across the board. Uh, if you're trying to actually look at what is classic, Graham kind of catches your eye a little bit more.
Yes.
I think because he's got this little tiny waist. There's nothing really that kind of jumps out. Like I think actually the sign of a great physique is something you're not going to make a comment and go, he's got big such and such,
Yeah.
like big quads. You just look at it and go, that's a really nice physique because it's got everything in the proportion.
Yeah.
I felt like if I can, yeah. So I'll start off there with the winner. Yeah, I actually said he had amazing detail, big round delts. I would have still shot for a little bit more glute detail. Andreas was also for me. I just thought the two ones that really stood out to me in terms of enjoyment and made me just want to watch them was him and you. Uh, just how calm. I think Emma is posing coach as well.
Yeah.
I think Emma Quinn. So I would like, yeah, I am right. Yeah, I can see it there. I'd like to give a shout out to her. She's done a really good job with him. He posed very, very well, held his poses. Again, got into the pose very, very quickly, even in the overall. And he just looked really sort of relaxed on stage. And that was really, and even in the overall, whenever there's a little bit of jostling, his facial expression didn't change for a second. And that was actually really nice to watch. I think that he was a very deserved winner
Yeah.
in the overall. He was a deserved winner in his class, but I looked at Graham and I was like, I think he looks a wee bit more classic, but you have to break it down into components. It was going to be, for me, it was close between those two guys, maybe trading off shot for shot. But all in all, I think that the right guy won the overall. I think so. I think the decision was right in the end. But
My
that the next time them two guys walk on stage, that could go the other way.
I agree. I thought it was close, and if I'm being fully honest, I was giving Graham the full feedback. I think he lost it towards the end of the when you were posing them more and posing them harder. Like he's a little bit thinner through the legs. I think you know that himself. He'd still want a little bit more through there, but he filled out really well. When he hits his midsection, it's super tight. Like he's got like zero waist. But as
Yeah.
you posed him more, it felt like his head was nearly going down a little bit. He kind of lost. I wouldn't say Graham never loses control of his midsection, but he wasn't able to hold it as tight. So that threw his lines off, through his legs a little bit because his legs not being quite as developed as say his upper body, his shoulders, huge, massive, big back, especially when he opens up his back lat spread is a phenomenal shot. So I actually think just as it went on, he started breathing a little bit heavier. The head went down a little bit, and I think that's nearly where he lost it because there really wasn't much in the two. I don't know how many was it points around the decision, but I didn't think there could be much in it. I think it's like, what do you like the look of more at a point that you can see here? Even that lat spray, that should be a great shot. Maybe not in the shot, but just lifting his chest up a little bit more and little bits like that would have made a big difference.
Yeah, it's definitely bang on, mate. My notes to him was like wonderful V taper, like really nice overall structure, really like nice small waist. I would have still shot for him for a little touch more condition.
Mm-hmm.
Like the condition carries you not just in the aesthetic of the muscle, but your ability to hit and hold the detail in the pose. And you try and explain that to somebody. If you just can't, I say to people whenever you're getting ready for stage, you need to marinate in your condition because if you just land in it and then you go through a peak, you probably aren't going to be able to hold the pose, particularly the longer that you pose. I feel like whenever you have just matured in that sort of condition, when you're able to hold and display all the detail that that muscle holds. So I think that there's definitely something there. Now that he's in the condition that he's in, if he is continuing on to these next shows, I think that he can marginally improve on a already fantastic package that he brought at the weekend there.
Yeah, I think they'll both get better. I think Graham was pushing for condition. They filled him. It was like 6 kilos what he was saying, and Graham was saying that like, it was more than they thought it would be. They were like, "Oh, there's maybe more in this to fill out a little bit." So it'll be interesting. He looks a little bit tighter going into this muscle contest Ireland show, and then I'm sure there'll be British
Okay.
finals in that. So there's still weeks there for them to refine that. And I know from my own point of view, the more shows I've done, maybe more this weekend, the looks got better the longer I've kind of been able to hold that condition and stay somewhat fresh. So be interesting to see that. And I thought just really strong class there. Like, the classic class is growing. It's becoming a real competitive, probably the most competitive class out of all of them now. And there we have the tall classic winner, Marcian Novodotska, I believe that one is. So again, I don't actually follow him on Instagram, so I don't have all the pictures, but he was a big boy. Like I seen him backstage tanning, big sweeping quads, big arms, nice, like as you say, like that rib cage structure, as well, could pull a pretty good vacuum. So like he was another impressive physique there again as well. Again, would I like to see a little bit more sharpness? Always, always, because like that's where you can improve it a little bit when you just get that little bit drier, grainier, even in classic as well.
Yeah, there's. I felt like he was posing classic, but there's refinement that needs to happen there too, because like you can see, the detail in the left leg, the way that he's got that set is pretty good. But because of the way he's shifted the hip, he's not able to bring that detail out on the right leg. So these are like small little tweaks that you just need to. Literally, it's just you got to articulate it. As you're going through your posing and like video it, you got to critique it and go, where's bringing out the most detail? And so like maybe the hips are a wee bit maybe too forward, so you're not getting like a wee bit of yes. He pushes that across for him to bring up that detail out in the upper quad. There is a better way to present that. Like, but
Yeah.
again, big muscle bellies across the arms. Felt like shoulders were really well developed and stuff as well. And as you made reference to, condition could have definitely been a little bit tighter for, particularly through the back as well.
Yeah. I mean, again, I wish I could go on as things and see if Stephen has any other. Stephen sent us a few shots over, but I believe they're all just the winner shots that we've got there. Yeah, so we've not
Yeah.
seen from the rear, which is unfortunate. But yeah, he was solid. I don't think I don't think he challenged as much in the overall, potentially because of the posing and because of the conditioning, maybe not just pushing through quite as much. But again, another guy that again, if a little bit more refinement, again, can be very good. We'll go with the Masters over 40s winner. I think there was only the one there in that class, would I be right in saying?
Yeah.
So Stephen, like I think it's his first time competing. Like, his level of conditioning was good. Again, it's just he needs more. He needs more muscle. It's always going to be the way. Obviously, like he's not going to stand in like an overall lineup, without the tissue. Conditioning was good, but it's one of those things when it comes to it's bodybuilding. So there's just more muscle mass needed. But through the legs, nice and tight, you can see clear separation through all four heads of the quads, through the serratus and all too. But it's just a muscle thing there.
100%. And the feedback that I'd given him, again, I said actually very good condition, front to back. There's, yeah, I think like in terms of the phrase that I use with clients whenever we're getting ready for a show on peak week is you can only peak with what you have.
Yeah.
So you can't change somebody's physique, but you can refine what's there. And I thought that like he's been peaked very well for the physique that he has. I think the condition right through head to toe, even through the back profile, was actually very good quality. And you have to play to your strengths. If you're like quite often whenever I'm competing, particularly with the PCA, I'm going to be one of the smaller guys on stage. So you have to play to your strengths. You have to make sure your presentation is on point. You have to make sure that, like for me, I have to be inside out in order to draw the eye away from the guys who are bigger. So bearing that in mind, but exactly what you said, I made reference to it. He just needs more development, pretty much from head to toe. There's nothing really out of balance, which is a really good sign. That's a good foundational space to create this next phase in his physique. But certainly, it's just doing what he's doing, refining it, and adding more tissue across the board. So I would actually say a couple of years off season, if I was to give advice, spend time in just a really good gaining phase. Make sure your training is of the absolute best quality, and come back in 2027 and make an impact. Like so, but I thought he did a very very good job because it's not easy getting into that condition either.
No, yeah, correct. And as you say, you do the best of what you've got, but now it's like go and do the business of bodybuilding, put that muscle on, and come back with an improved package, and you bring that same sort of condition with another, 10 pound of muscle. It's a much improved physique there. It really is. So fair play to him. Masters over 50 winner, Paul John Taylor. Good as well. It's a Masters when it's a tough one because you sort of look to the legs a little bit when it comes to Masters as to they're a little bit harder to get in. That's where you tend to see the guys, especially in the over 50s class, where they tend to lose a little bit through the legs, through the condition of the legs, through the fullness of the legs. But upper body, fairly good. Again, I'm not sure if this was when I was backstage, so I'm not too sure how many was in that class, if there was anybody else in it.
Yeah, there's I think there might have been three in it. I think there was another guy maybe moved into that category. I'm not too sure. Let me see. Yeah, I think there was. I think there might have been three. Yeah, I thought that he deserved to win for sure. And some of the feedback I'd said he had actually really good energy on stage. So I'm assuming that he's got a good bit of experience walking on there. So like he knew, and he had good support and stuff too. So he was playing to them, which is always really nice to see. Like the people that come and support you deserve a little bit of your energy directed at them. So that was really cool. I thought that he like loads of density across the shoulders, over 50 kind of maturity in that upper body. You could
Yeah,
see. I probably would say a little bit more control in the midsection with some of the posing, particularly in transitions. Needs to be looked at. Again, this is a short term fix, and his legs were actually a decent size. Again, as you made reference to, in the over 50s, as you get older, the legs sometimes is the first thing to start dropping off a little bit. But the goal should always be the same: get the most out of what you have. So I would be pushing the condition a good wee bit more, and it'd be hard to sort of quantify that, but like I'd say £8 to £10 probably, and that's going to bring more of the detail through the quads. So even if your quads are downsizing, still whatever you have, make sure that you're able to present it in the poses. So, and the only way to do that is to make sure that you've got that really good condition right through. But I thought that he did a great job, great energy on stage. I look forward to seeing him again, actually.
yeah. I don't want to give too much of an opinion on it without seeing it, but that would just be my feedback on it. And I think it comes with the Masters. But you make a very good point: is getting the absolute most out of what you've got. Right, we now move
Yeah.
on to open bodybuilding. So We had the short class, and they put us together with the medium class as well, which was myself. So there's three of us on stage. This was Owen. Owen, I thought he was good. He was good. He was well conditioned. Again, another lovely fella as well. He had a really good energy about him on stage. I think there's a video he has here actually. So this was the combination. There was Matthew Kernan, I believe, he came second
Yeah,
to Owen. Then I was on stage with the two guys as well here. But
yeah.
he had nice balance. Like to be fair, across and from the back, he was pretty sharp. The glutes were fairly good. Well development, good development. Sorry, in the lower lats. I would say probably if anything, I'd like to see like the upper chest come through a little bit more thickness and density through there. But you know, fairly confident poser as well.
I think there's still posing issues that he could get better at. Like you can see him even in the side chest. He's kind of like moving, the hips coming up, hips coming down, hips coming up. That for me, that's showing me there's uncertainty with where you're. I talk about your posing being a sentence. As you move into the pose, it's a sentence, and then you finish it with a punctuation mark. The punctuation mark freezes the pose. That's the full stop. You kind of need to know where the sentence finishes, and once you've done it, bang, hold, and just look confident in the pose. That's all you need to do. Listen to instruction, move into the next pose, rinse and repeat. Exactly what you said. Again, I apologize for my spelling, guys. Anybody on this, I was doing my best, but I had a lot of plates spinning on the stage. But I said Owen, and I know I've seen Owen compete a good few times before for a long, long time.
Yeah,
And for me, this is the best package that I've ever seen Owen bring to the stage. Brought very good level of condition. The word I used was sharp.
yeah.
And there's like, again, for me, that's somebody that's been sort of marinating in their condition. So
Mhm.
they've been kind of in and around that space for multiple weeks, just refining it. I think, what's he called? The brown panda, is it?
Yeah, Steve Hurts. I know it's weird to say in the Brown Panda, but Steve, I will go Brown.
Right.
He likes that name, but he's done a very good job with
Okay.
him. He has.
So yeah, I thought that he did very, very well. Um, I said he did have great posing, but there is just a couple of little tweaks that he could definitely make. And I said more chest fullness, so a little bit more development in the cross arch. So look at a side pose here.
Yeah. I've
That needs
noticed that the
that
core
needs
returns need it work.
yeah.
Yep.
Because actually he's got really good hamstring hang, but in that pose, there's no density really in the side leg, and then he's throwing his symmetry off by he's got one arm up in the air like he's on a Harley.
Yeah.
He needs to just bring that arm down because it's going to you're going to lose chest density if your arm's up in the air because the pec is stretched. You need to bring the arm down and bring it slightly across the rib cage, and that's just going to pack that pec out a little bit more, and it's going to create at least the illusion that there's more in the chest than is actually there.
Yeah. I mean, Kearney there, he came second. The guy's probably more muscled. His legs have come up a lot. Like he's actually put on a fair whack of muscle over the last. I think
Yeah,
it was last year he had an outing, but his condition wasn't there, and I think he knows that himself. You know, I think he was a little bit disappointed with how he came in. You know, he sort of was suggesting that it was maybe like a fluid issue. I think there's potentially part of that. I think there's still a body fat to come off there, if I'm honest, to be fully all the way in, and potentially some peaking issues. But the if he's in and he's sharp, he's going to be very competitive there for the win. But just wasn't sharp enough. You know, I know he's got a few more shows planned this season, so hopefully he can nail it and really showcase the improvements which he clearly has made in muscularity over the past year.
Matthew did an incredible job. I want to start off with I've had again the pleasure of hosting Matthew down at the compound room, and he's trained in with me. I think his life flashed before his eyes. It was leg day, but really, really nice guy. I'm very fond of Matthew. We've been in connection, for the last few years and stuff. But for me, the amount of muscle mass, if he comes in completely dialed, then he probably wins that category.
Yeah,
There's not a lot missing. I'm looking at it going, yeah, you could maybe still bring the chest up a little bit, a wee tiny bit more in the arms. But actually, if you look at across that, the physique from head to toe, from the front profile looks really good. Actually, how he posed was bang on the money. There was no issues. For me, it was, yeah, I think he did make reference to there was a peaking issue, but there was more condition, and that was pretty much the feedback that I'd given him as well. It wasn't just peaking. There's still a little bit more fat to come off.
Yeah, I,
And once he does that, I think he can do some damage in this season. Like, and I really, really hope that that comes to fruition because I'm very fond of him as well.
I know he's doing British finals, and there's 4 weeks there to that. Like that's enough time to take off. It's hard to hear sometimes that there's more body fat to come off when you're so fixated on it being a peaking issue. But I think if you can realize that there is maybe another 8 pound there to come off, that if there is a water issue, it certainly won't be as much of an issue alongside that. So, he's a great physique. Even in that, you can see in that front double, really nice taper because of the big sweeping quads. Just needs condition,
Yeah,
needs more condition. So that's where we're at
I,
with that.
I would. I would also probably request him to get, like, whenever he's getting his tan done, just a little touch more.
Darker, yeah.
You can
Matt's
see.
right deal. So
Yeah,
like that, again, those little things that we talk about, like the professionalism, they make such a difference. Like the tan, I know I'm going to move on to class two, so myself, just me in it. But that was something I took a big thing on this year. Was like I'm not a big fan of using sunbeds, but here it's bodybuilding. But that made a difference to my tans this year. Coming in just that little bit darker, definitely made a difference. So it was just myself in this class, which initially I was a little bit disappointed about, but I was so happy with the look. It's definitely like major improvements on the last few years. They went on stage around 50 pound heavier. They went on in 2021. Uh, pretty, well, I would think probably the best condition that I've brought as well, and a little bit better midsection control. Because for me, that can be a real issue, especially when I'm turning to the quarters. Putting some of that size on in that time frame, you have to. It's going to go somewhere, and sometimes it goes to the midsection. So it's something I have to be hyper aware of and practiced a lot in my posing, especially in the quarters, to not lose it. Probably a couple of times. I think you made a fair point as well about the leg position and some of the back shots that I can get more out of the hamstring, which I agree with. Like I'm always hypercritical, but I was very happy with this, and I fucking absolutely loved it up there. So yeah, I was pleased with the look, and going forward for myself, like I know what I need to do. I need more quad. It's been an ongoing. I'm not going to make excuses. Knees have been a write off for many a year. That's why I initially done men's physique, but they come up. But we need to find a way to bring them up more if them to reach the level which you want, which is overall wins and PCA Pro cards in the next sort of 3 to 5 years.
yeah. You just got to focus on finding better patterns. Like trying to explain to somebody whenever you're doing like a leg press to try to put more emphasis on your lateral quad, so we can create like more of a connection to that area. There
Yeah,
is a like external cue that you kind of need to utilize in order to get that part of the quad to recruit more than the rest of them. But that becomes, first you need to understand it, then you need to be able to articulate it. So that, I think, if you get that sort of transitional phase, even with the knees, you're going to be able to get so much more out of doing so much less. And that, I mean, in terms of weight, guys, you don't need to be. I love doing it because it's great. They just move some really ridiculous weight, but you have to understand. I think like the argument that we've had with people, bro science or old school, new school, all this stuff.
Mhm.
Is it important for me to understand lines of pull? Is it important for me to be able to squeeze into my lateral head of the quad? It's not until it is. If you're not doing any of that stuff and you're just training like Brant Warren and everything is growing in perfect symmetry, then you keep filling your boots and doing what you got to do. That's absolutely amazing. Whenever you've spent time in that gym, pushing sweat, spilling energy, and there's still areas in the physique that needs to come up, then you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. You need to change the program, change how you articulate the movement, and that muscle can grow with a lot less. But I want to just sort of speak to about your overall physique, mate. Like you can see there, arguably the best back in that back double. Standout condition of the day for me. Tan was absolutely amazing. Yeah, just the quad sweep from the front.
yeah,
I think like the density that you have even in the side poses and stuff is very, very good. Really nice balance from head to toe. But I know that you're really excited to be on stage, but I
yes,
would probably just trying to pin that down a little bit so you can just, once you go in that pose, hold it, because there's still a little bit of movement that doesn't need to be there.
yeah, yeah,
But particularly for some of those poses that I think I'm like your side chest. I think your side chest is really good, but you are quite closed off with it as well in the upper
yes,
body.
yeah.
You can open that up a little bit, and you're going to create more the density because the density is there. But all in all, mate, I thought you did a class job, and I just had so much fun just watching you up there, man. So it made me feel good while
Uh,
I'm sitting here fat. So,
No, I loved it. Like, and it was wanting to, play to the judges, play to the people that come up and support me in the crowd as well. Like actually show, like when I'm going on stage, I want it to be a display of who I am. I want it to be my
yeah,
art. And like I lay it all out there, and like in terms of personality wise, and I want to be able to showcase that on stage. So, I appreciate the feedback as well a lot, and I always understand like what I need to do, and I'm willing to do, but give it my best to do that as well. And I think for me, being able like to be sort of recognized as right, okay, I think it would have taken somebody very, very, very good in class two, and that's just being real, to beat us that day with especially like with the level of condition and especially from the rear. But like when I look at the photos, I'm always honest with myself. I could be beaten from the front, hard to beat me from the back. With the level of condition that was brought in, and I just loved it. My mum being there, it was a really, really important one to me. So and I kind of feel like that's kind of I feel like that's my peak. That's and now I want to move on and get better, and I'm excited by that whole thing. But we'll talk about the overalls after. But yeah, I was pleased. I think you're 100% correct with it as well about some of the posing. Like Wardy would tell you, I'm an extremely excitable person. Like he's
yeah.
maniac. He'd said manic at points. So it's like before I go on stage, it's got better, and that's why I've done multiple shows because this was the one for me. And there was still a little bit like a bit too much maybe, but I was trying to tell myself, breathe, relax now. You don't need to overpump this because I would just go in my first shows. And I was going on nearly out of breath and so over the top. So I was able to kind of control that a little bit more. But there's one more show, so I'll try and light a candle, get some lavender around me in this one
Oh
before
yeah.
on stage. So
It's yeah. You still need to bring that level of excitement, but whenever you go, like, be excited, but whenever you go into the pose, then just
yes,
like lock it. Find your punctuation mark, lock it,
no, I
but
like.
keep that. If you're able to get that balance with the energy that you have, hit those poses, particularly the ones that you're extremely strong in. I think even this weekend could be a very fruitful pursuit for you, and I can't wait to see the results either, man. So bring her home.
Where can I take it, James? How far? Like, do you think it can go towards overall wins? Within the PCA, like in 3 to 5 years, challenging for pro cards. Like, what's your genuine thoughts on that?
I would bet my house on it.
Right, lovely. That's the incentive
I would
then.
bet,
I need.
honestly, I would bet my house on it because it's you're doing it. I see that you're doing it for the right reason. You're doing it because for the love of it, and I've obviously trained with you as well, and I know that you put the work and stuff in. I would like to sort of refine that a little bit,
Yeah.
um, given the opportunity at the odd time. But honestly, like you're lifting great weight. You're putting the work in the gym. You know that you're passionate about it. It's a 24/7. Looking at you, you're not missing the mark. You're crossing the T's and dotting the I's. For me, it's all those things. On top of that, you need the genetic potential. You have it there, mate. So in the next 2 to 3 years, well, we don't need to go too deep into the overall right now,
Yeah.
but you're in and amongst that top three in a very very good lineup. So you weren't too far off, to be honest. So
Let's go. Let's get it. Big, tall class, big Adrian. The Miss Man takes up a lot of space, particularly from the front. Now, his quads are huge. Like he's a big, big structure of a man. Like what I will say about Adrian, I thought he was a little bit lighter from the back than I've seen him. Like we're talking here. Like it's nearly easier to critique like top level competitors because you can be a little bit, I feel it anyways, I can be a little bit like more critical because they're at a point where they're wanting to push. With some of the guys that are, starting off, yeah, I'm probably a little bit kinder to, but with Adrian there, like he's won overalls before. He's a phenomenal bodybuilder, one of the biggest bodybuilders within this country. Uh, and I just thought he was maybe he just wasn't as tight as I've seen him before, and he looked a little bit light in the back due to maybe being so big in the front.
yeah, it's the same thing. Adrian's very impressive structurally. Like you can see there, that's an X.
Yes.
If you haven't seen the alphabet, that's an X.
Mhm.
He has everything there. It's very wide across that top line. Uh, Posing for me, legs are way too wide. I understand why people do it. Derek Lunsford, for example, Derek Lunsford does it because he's big adductors and he doesn't have a quad sweep.
Yep. Yep.
But at the Mr. Olympia, he's the only one in the top five that'll pose like that because the rest of them know that it doesn't look quite right. the problem that we have in our heads, and maybe it's, maybe previous advice that people have been given. You think that if I open up on stage, I'm occupying more space, but you're actually opening up more space. There's more gaps between your limbs and their torso, more gaps between your leg and your leg. So you're seeing more of the back of the stage rather than tissue. And for me, whenever you go that wide, the femur actually externally rotates too much. So you show the detail maybe in the likes of your adductor, but you're losing some of that in the lateral quad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, from the back, definitely, and Adrian knows this as well. From the back, he obviously needs to bring a bit more density in through that back profile. From the hips down, glutes, like in terms of muscle size, glutes, hamstrings, calf, everything is there. If he gets that upper body growing in the right space, it's going to be impressive. And the last thing then that I'll say in terms of critique, I do feel that the condition could have been a little bit better as well with Adrian.
Yeah, agreed.
So,
Agreed.
but again, I don't know. I don't know what it's like to bring 115 kilo of man into condition because I'm about half that size. But I think Adrian's got so much potential, and I would honestly look, because I've loved watching Adrian over the years. He's almost like too passionate whenever he's on stage, to the point where it can be at a detriment to how again he hits his poses. So if I could just sort of take the reins and slow him down a little bit, and just be that big guy, but be composed, get into the poses you're really strong at first, and draw the eye, and for no, absolutely, I think Adrian has maybe won overalls and stuff, but there's more overalls for him in his future as well.
Yeah, there's a bigger ceiling for Adrian with that structure and that level of mass. If he can bring it all together at the right time, bringing the upper body up, then he's a freak to stand beside. He's incredibly imposing to stand beside as well, and he has an aura, I would say, around him that can definitely be quite intimidating. So he's a class bodybuilder. He's just a little bit more conditioned, as you say, and that through the rear. And we'll get into the overalls as we go. Because I want to get onto the females now as well. Uh, so what we had here was toned figure. We're into now, and this was the winner, Victoria. James, I'm going to let you. I had missed a couple of these classes because they were straight after my showing, so I don't want to comment too much from my end on it without seeing the lineup. So I'm going to let you do a little bit here. I'm also on 9 liters of water, so I need to run to the toilet. So I'm going to let you take this one for the camera, right?
Thanks, mate. Just leave me hanging.
You
All
go.
right.
That's great.
Right. Close that door. Okay. Victoria will not have dead air. So, yeah, fantastic result. Definitely deserved. Incredible, physique. You probably did receive your feedback, which is from me. So please understand that it's always coming from the best place. Definitely needs to improve the posing from the rear, presenting your back, because whenever you see somebody that actually has most of the things are that they need, but they're not showcasing it the way that they need to, it's kind of disheartening a little bit, because you watch that and you go, even though you won and you deserve to win, for me, just to polish the whole performance, you're always going to try to nitpick what could be a little bit better. So for me, it was like the only real negative feedback that I could give was just the posing from the rear position. Let me just have a wee quick check just to make sure there's nothing else that I'm missing. And yeah, I thought the condition was really, really good. Nice physique taper, nice quad detail. I did say a little bit more quad sweep would be lucrative, let's just say.
Mhm.
And then again, just a bit more in your transitions, moving in your poses as well. But great win. Congratulations. Looking forward to seeing you develop further in the future.
And then we will move on to the athletic figure winner. How many was in this class, James?
Athletic figure. Oh, I think there might have been one.
One. That's the
And,
thing.
and
Some of the other classes, it's a high. I would say a higher entry point. Obviously, the more muscle mass you get. So comparatively to say some of maybe the bikini divisions, they're a little bit less in terms of depth. Quality wise, though, they tend to be fairly good. What was your feedback here?
yeah, so that's Emma. Um, I actually really liked her. I thought she looked really good. In fact, whenever it came to the overall, I was like waving her forward because she was still in the overall or the pose down. She was still at the back of the stage, and I was like, "Come forward, get your shots," because she's a really great physique. Actually, you can see there.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
uh, I thought she looked actually very, very good. But yes,
Right.
more confidence definitely needed. And again, it's hard to say that to somebody, but the only way that you can really, if you're not a naturally confident person or have the ability to lie your confidence on stage, it's just going to be time, spending time on the stage and being in that sort of space and learning how can I focus and not have your sort of sensory cortex just getting completely overwhelmed. So look, it'll just take time and it's an experience. But I actually really really like their physique, to be honest. You can see their glute
Shape. Yeah.
detail,
Nice conditioning.
glute, the back looked very very good. Yeah, there's not a lot of negative that I would actually give her. She looked
Good
really
level of
good.
detail, decent shoulder cap when she's posing it right as well. Because I think there's a few of them potentially she nearly just loses that top line slightly in some of these, but like a shot like this it's
Yeah.
very decent. It flows well. It's a good again, it's a good
Yeah.
pretty decent representation of the class. I would have liked to see a little bit more, maybe more tightness, maybe in the midsection, just looking at just based off of these photos, maybe. But like through this top line here, through the chest, through the shoulders, nice delt pop, nice separation through the quads. You know, it's a good physique. That I think she's coached by Nadia Long as well. So
Yes.
obviously a good caliber of coach there too, with a good level of experience at it, which always helps when you have that level of experience to be able to bring people in.
Yeah, I would just the other note that I had, I was like a little bit more back thickness. Is just going to polish that whole sort of rear end because everything else looks really really good. As I said, the glute, even the detail and stuff in the glute was really nice. Overall, thought it was a great package. It'd be nice just to see her. She looks fantastic. Just be fantastic.
Yeah.
Whenever you look like that, you've earned the right to go out and be confident. Don't let anybody. It doesn't matter who else is on stage. If you're on the stage on your own or you're on a lineup with 10 people, if you've crossed your T's and dotted your I's, walk on and be a Neil Rennie. Just perform
A bit more
and
challenge.
yeah, a bit more chill, but like leave it all on the stage. Do you know what I mean? Because to get into that condition, to have that physique, she'll have left everything in the gym. Every session, she'll have worked hard. She's obviously not missed anything with her nutrition. Everything's been as it should be. Just you need to finish that off. Take that, be confident with what you've done, and bring that confidence to the stage.
'Cause I think that's the thing just for to move on because I'm realizing that's to be about a 2 hour one. People enjoyed it. It's good feedback, but like it's one thing. Like the gym bodybuilding is one thing. Putting it on stage is a different sport. That is the sport essentially. All the work's done in the
Yes.
gym, but it's what you present on stage. And like you need to breed that into yourself, that level of confidence. Even if you don't believe it, you need to start believing it. Like it's that mindset of a champion. I belong here. I deserve to be here. Like especially if you struggle with that confidence side of things, it's something I'm massive into. It's something I've had to work on quite a lot doing all this as well. Is that level of self belief, not arrogance, but real self belief but you have to fully believe it in yourself. And when you've worked for it, it's a damn sight easier, especially when you're in condition, to believe it when you're on stage than when you know you've maybe skipped a beat. So that like, and talking of that, you know, like Jill Wade, like what a phenomenal athlete. I don't think even the pictures do it justice in terms of the level of like detail, condition, dryness. It's fucking, to be honest with you, it's insane. She could have won the men's overall. And I don't mean that disparagingly, like in terms of like the level of detail she brings. Like she does dominate the show. Especially in the upper body, like the back detail, like it's skinned, especially when you see it even without the tan, it's almost more impressive because it is absolutely Caucasian, dry skin, like onion. It's unreal.
Yeah. Like whenever we bumped into you in the Starbucks at the was that the natural shows? Yeah. You see her coming in and she's got her like a wee baggy hoodie and stuff on, and she looks like she's like 70 pounds with her hair wet. And everybody else is just walking past, and they don't know that underneath this hoodie is this absolute freak that just has that level of density. But this is, please listen, whenever I've referred to this previously on this podcast, somebody marinating in their condition, that's what it looks like.
Yes.
Right? This hasn't been, she just didn't land in condition 5 days before the show. She's been thereabouts for a time, and the physique just acclimates to that lower levels of body fat.
Well, that's 6 weeks,
And
you know. So
there you go.
that's the levels that
Yeah,
get to if you're going to bring it in that sort of condition. You know, you're coming in, you're hard, you're letting it marinate. You can see it there even in myself as well. It's like you earn that, and you know, it's especially at the back end. I think a lot of people get a little bit worried. They're going up, they're eating more, they should be working harder. Like you've earned it at that point. You know, the work is almost it's done, and that's something I think that most like well, I certainly struggle with it. I know Jill does as well. You know, we're probably similar mindsets when it comes to that side of things. Need to be pulled back a little bit, but you know that hard work's done like early doors. You're ready, and you can see the level of condition. It's just nutty. It really, really is. Like, where's the
yeah.
seeding for Jill? Where is the seeding? Do you think in terms of like obviously she's going to go to the NPC here this week and compete in Muscle Contest Ireland Regional? Probably go and do a pro qualifier. You know, I know you're more in the natural scene, James, but with like the women's physique division she's going into, like, do you see that as
Yeah,
an avenue for her to turn pro in?
I do, and I also hope so.
Yeah.
You know, whenever you see a standard of athlete that Jill is, and she isn't pro, you know, because the division's not there for her, in what she's achieved so far. I think that it's a bit of a shame because there's a lot of people obviously throwing their pro card notoriety around, and you're like, you know, Jill's a different level,
She's getting
and
confident too.
so that's why I say, I, yeah, I don't judge people by them having a pro card. I judge the physique, you know, and Jill's for me ticks all the boxes and stuff, and she's actually got a really nice presentation. You know, she looked class. She honestly looked class. Like I'm literally trying. I was saying to you before the podcast, I was trying to find negatives for people, and the only thing really that I could say with Jill was she, you know, just needs to stay on her quads a wee bit more because there were whenever she hit them, it was like boom, and then they were just kind of dropping off.
Yes.
The contraction in the quads and front pose was just tapering off a little bit, and it's there. So that was me literally trying to search the needle in the haystack,
Yeah,
and
like
that's what I came up with. Might
Jill,
help.
me and Jill are very close. Like, and what I would say, like now, you know, it's like critiquing Samson Dawada to a point. You know, when you've won a class two by yourself, you're novice Scottish champion. But like
Yeah,
to me, it's like right for that next level. You're talking pro. You know, obviously I train with Nikki as well, pro women's physique. Competitor gets in sliced and diced condition when the time's there. Like a little bit more leg, a little bit more quad to beat. I'm talking like to turn professional in the IFBB. I think if she can bring
yeah,
that on, like these girls aren't like I was at the shows, been at many women's physique pro shows now. They're really not touching that level of condition, especially through the upper body. So just a little bit more through the legs, through the hamstring, through the quad. And I'm talking at top level, at PCA level. Like she's, you know, she'll probably be British and world champion again. You know, but just
yeah,
for that next step up, wee bit more through the quad, wee bit more through the hamstring, fucking like the sky's the limit there, you know, and she's been doing it for a long, long time too. That level of maturity and density you talk about is very much there with Jill. But we'll get to the overalls and we'll talk more about Jill, I'm sure, as the winner. Now,
yeah,
this wee lad from very Spartan, Shay, nice
yeah.
guy. He was there at the Natural Show a couple of weeks back, and he'd won it. We talked a lot about him in that podcast last time we were on the podcast. Lovely physique, nice VT. But what would you say? How was he comparatively to the Natural Show? Did you see an improvement? Did you see it backwards, or do you see very much the same?
I didn't think he was as sharp
Yeah, I'd agree.
in right. I don't know whether the physique looked fatigued. So this is what we're talking about. Whenever you get somebody conditioned, because he was conditioned at naturals,
Yeah,
sometimes it can be very, very difficult to make the decision. Do I come back out of this deficit that I've been in for 3, 4 months? But for me, there's a cliff edge. I've talked about this before, where if you keep beating on that drum, whenever the song is completed, you're going to fall off, and
yeah,
that's kind of where that difficulty is because you feel like you should still be pushed. Oh, I can get more condition, And I'm like going, actually, the level of condition is bang on, but you could maybe improve the look by trying to maintain that condition, but refining the level of fullness. That's kind of the direction I would go with most people whenever they're already maturing in their condition. You can't keep beating it because whenever you're continuing in a deficit, whenever the physique is already ready, the muscle starts to wear fatigue. And I don't know whether that's it. And then you've got your sort of whole HPA axis and how that sort of cortisol response is going to occur just by continuing to beat on that. So you might end up holding a little bit more water. So for me, it just wasn't just as much sharpness in through the abs and the lower back than I seen at the last show.
I fully agree, and he's still, he's still a deserved winner. Still looked excellent, but we were sort of chatting. So he was sort of saying about my shows and improving show to show. And I think he felt like the physique was maybe starting to slip a little bit, and even that, even the thought of that and that stress too of that happening,
Mm.
it can affect the physique. Still a phenomenal physique, and obviously a phenomenal he's a phenomenal future in the sport, but there was probably just a little bit of regression on what I seen on the where he was absolutely tip top for the natural show. So hopefully, if he's
Yeah,
planning, I don't know if he's planning on doing the natural. There's the British finals are this weekend, I
it's
believe.
this weekend.
So hopefully, he can maybe let that. Well, it's maybe a little bit late now. It's Thursday. I'll be out Thursday night, but hopefully, if he is in that, maybe he's had a little bit more food this week, freshened the physique up, backed off a little bit, because I think that would make the world of difference for Shay there, because he's a great athlete and he's only a young lad. We then have
Yeah.
the Masters men's physique winner, DVG, coached by Tony Boyce, I believe. Thoughts in this class? I missed a couple of these men's physique classes then by the middle portion of this.
Yeah, I actually thought that he posed quite well. Um, I have DVG. I did say a little bit more condition would be needed. You can kind of see it there and through where the obliques is and the abs. Really nice shoulder cap, actually good sort of medial development here, which is very advantageous game for men's physique. And yeah, you could like that. Whenever I'm talking about posing, you can see that right shoulder's like sort of elevated a little bit in that sort of front pose. Again, whenever you do that, you lose a little bit of density across that right pec as well. Um, that arm almost like looks like a wee bit of shoulder blade elevation whenever he's hitting that pose. So he tucks that shoulder down and creates like a square line across from shoulder to shoulder. That's going to improve the look of that pose. You can even see from that side pose there, the shoulders kind of protracted a little bit. It's almost like lifted forward. So those are little small things that he can definitely improve there. But I actually thought that he looked really, really good, mate, for like over 35 Masters physique.
Yeah, I think as you say, like especially men's physique, just through the midsection a little bit more, because it's such an important part of men's physique. It really that is like the bit we're looking towards a lot of the time. Obviously the V taper as well, but a large part of that is the abdominals themselves. We then have Reese
Yeah.
Bunton. Now, Reese has done many, many shows. He's been chasing a pro card. I mean, he was going to go to Amsterdam for the pro qualifier. I think his flight got cancelled the night before, so he's had a hard time of it. He's been really going at this for quite a while, and he's got a really good physique. It's what would your feedback be with Reese in this show?
Um, this show, so Reese competed earlier on in the season, didn't he, at the PCA show?
Yeah,
Um, I felt so. The notes that I had was I felt that he faded. He's got so much muscle. You can see the density. I also don't think men's physique guys should be doing a vacuum in any of their posing, particularly in a category which is it's part of the showcasing the surfer guys' bod. So it's meant that's obviously where it started. That California kind of guy showcasing his abdomen. So I would probably avoid doing the vacuum pose. Loads of muscle, big thick arms. Actually, like you can see the detail in through the likes of the shoulders, but I felt that he was definitely sharper earlier in the season. You also seen his tan running quite a lot whenever he was competing here at the weekend. Like for me, he was a clear winner.
yes,
But these here are maybe either peaking issues or you say to people about posing condition. It's not just about going into your posing room and setting a timer for 10 minutes and going through it. You got almost got to put yourself in the headspace where I'm being judged. I need to pose as hard as I possibly can, like the
yeah,
whole world's watching.
Yep.
So it's the much like it's if you turn up to the gym to do an hour session. I train 5 hours per week. That means nothing unless you know the relevance of the intensity of those sessions. Posing's exactly the same. You just can't stick a clock on. You have to make sure that you're conditioned, battle ready to go on stage and do round after round. So I don't know whether it's a combination of that, but definitely the physique looked like it faded a little bit, particularly as he went into the overall.
I'd agree. And I'd like to have seen Reece take the year, really, and come back in May and do it, because I think it's a short time to make improvements when, like, I think he's a phenomenal athlete. I think he deserved to win the overall. I think he certainly deserved to win his class. I don't think there's any doubt about that. It's a bit like Adrian. We're picking these top level guys that are wanting to be like, they're on the verge of pro standard. So we can critique
Yeah,
them because they're going to take that feedback and it's going to fire them up. It's a different place that comes from. So I'd like to see him take a year and maybe brought the back up a little bit more width because his abs are they're not as sharp there. To be fair, they're not as sharp there, but he can be a little bit thicker in the midsection, so he needs a little bit more through the back to give him that V taper. I think he absolutely can turn pro. I think he's on that, like on the right show. He can get it. I know he's type 1 diabetic, and I know he went hypo on stage, which is why the sweat and that was
there
there.
you go.
That's
Yeah,
him and Matt McCulloch
it's,
have to work very, very closely. Like the blood sugars, it's a very like, it's when there's other things involved in it too, certain supplementation as
yeah,
well. Managing type 1 diabetes, blood sugars
yeah,
peaking for a show. It's a minefield. So they tend to do a good job. And I thought it was just a little like, he can be better, and I'm absolutely sure that he will be better. He wasn't bad, but
yeah,
we're talking top level, let's get a pro card kind of thing. And I think that's in him in the right show. Potentially this year.
sure.
But I think I'd like to see him take a little bit of time away from stage. It's important. If you're gonna really maximize that, you don't need much more muscle. It just needs a bit of refinement in that back area. I'd like even a little bit more cap in the delts because the arms are so big. The biceps are very, very big. So obviously when the biceps that big, it can nearly take a little bit away from that cap. So just little bits like that, and it just guarantee yourself it. Don't leave any doors open because you can.
Yeah,
I hope he does it. He's a nice guy as well. He lives and breathes it as well. So we
yeah.
will.
I actually said midsection control. But again, like I know, like when if he's coming on, he has the likes of the diabetes and trying to regulate blood glucose. It is very, very difficult. The judges, though, we're just looking at what's obviously happening, which is an unfortunate circumstance. You can't take those as a judge. You can't take things like that into consideration. It's literally right. It does look like the physique is fading. So that's understandably why, but you have to say what you see. I think like he's again loads of muscle. I think he's actually got great density in through his back. Um, as you say, maybe a little bit wider across the hip and the lower ab, which is maybe why he's trying to hit the sort of vacuum pose in the front pose. But I would just say, look, you've got great abs. They're very symmetric, but just you need to hit down on them
Yeah.
and just hold that pose because like I actually like at the start of the year, I think he won his category as well, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, Tony beat
Um,
him for the pro card in Ireland, Tony Boyd.
right there, yeah. And like so, he's loads of potential. He's knocking on the door there. It's just he just needs a little bit of luck, maybe going into next season, and just refinement, and that's really it. He's a great athlete too.
We have men's physique tall winner Matt. Again, I don't think there's too many in this class from what I've seen.
Yeah, I think there was only one registered. I don't know if they ended up moving another one in or not. There was a few that were ended up getting moved into different categories that weren't on the actual list. But I've got some detail here for Matt. I actually said overall nice package. Definitely needs to work a little bit more on his posing.
Yeah.
Uh, Tricep detail again. It's just for me. It's overall conditioning and a bit more in the likes of the arms and triceps. Probably would definitely go a long way just to sort of complete the physique, so to speak. So, but overall, I thought that he looked really really good on stage. But the posing definitely needs a little bit of help.
Yeah, for me, posing a little bit more condition, a little bit more to the arms in terms of men's physique, to move up the levels. When you see guys like Reece there, we're talking about it, it's like right, that's the next level. And we're always looking at the next level. I'm looking at the next level. I'm sure Andreas is looking at the next level. Jill's looking at the next level. So we're always looking up the way. Wellness,
Yeah.
Denise, phenomenal. Physique again with Steve. I think actually Steve Hurts, the brown panda's partner. uh, crazy quad detail, crazy thickness in the quads. Again, she's only been at it and competing a couple of years as well. She's training for a while, but she's very good wellness. Like if I was looking at it, I'd maybe like to see a little bit more detail from the rear potentially through the glute ham tie-in. From being picky again, we're being picky because she is at such a good level. Uh, but you can see here, even not on stage, like it's very wellnessy. She's definitely the right fit for that class. You can see the quad detail there. Uh, yeah, she was good, but I just like to see a little bit harder from the rear. I know she's doing this NPC show again this weekend too.
Yeah, I had the same thing. I said a wee bit more hamstring detail, but also a bit more hamstring development. I think like amazing glutes, very well developed, which is obviously one of the main components in that class. Uh, Nice sort of shoulder development. You could probably say a bit more thickness through the quads as well for her to be like to go to that absolute next level. But as soon as she walked out, again, I turned around. Me and Nadia had a sort of glance at each other and was like, she's really good. She looked fantastic on the stage on Sunday. Nice stage presence as well. I thought her posing was really good. So yeah, there's what else can you say about that? It's just a couple of little bits that again, if she hasn't been competing that long, it's only a time thing and doing exactly what she's already doing.
Yeah, I agree. I think she has a really good future in it for saying it's a very short time doing it. It's only gonna get better. She's only gonna grow. We then have first timer bikini winner, Liv. Like, again, it's a bit like the most of the first timers as well. It's just a little bit more tissue, and a little bit more conditioning as well. But like, again, she's done well. She's got on stage. She's obviously won her class. But if we're being picky with it, it's always going to be, can we do a little bit better with the posing? Can we get a little bit more conditioning? I'd like to see a wee bit more through the delts as well, just to give it again, just to frame that physique for bikini. You don't need huge delts, but I'd like to see just a little bit more roundness there.
Yeah, I think I said overall great a great package again. We always have to understand like first you still have to judge it as like they're not first timers. You can't go up, they're only first timers. You still have to judge it as you would any other category as a judge. However, you still have to, whenever on reflection, we need to look at this girl and go, this is a first timer walking on stage. So she looks absolutely fantastic. She's done an incredible job to get to this point, and all in all, a very good performance on Sunday and a nice deserved win. So, a great way to start off her bodybuilding career
Yeah,
this season.
these are things then that the people you take on board as your first time doing it as well. Like sometimes just like literally getting on stage for the first time and committing to that process. Like yes, as a judge, you absolutely have to view it through the lens of like we're judging the class as it is. But as you say, when you reflect on it, you go right, where is that person actually at within their journey? And obviously you don't
Yep.
get an award for that, but that starts to build something in people as well. You get that first show under your belt, you realize what you can do better, and then you keep going with it. Now we have the junior bikini winner, Cora. Cora was in the naturals. I believe she came second in the naturals. So, it was good to see her win her class here. And we have actually a photos of the class, I believe. You say naturals, that might be the natural show, actually. It was there. This is the one from the weekend past there. So this is the class lineup. The girl on the right here, nice big tall structure here she had. So it was, it was close, but Macora's midsection's very tidy, very tidy. I think again from the rear, Cora could probably have makes a little bit more in terms of improvements to bring her like glutes, hams up. Again, she's a junior, so that will come with time. The girl again on the left, I don't know her name, so I do apologize. But she's a very nice structure, being big and tall. But also did Cora, and I did think Cora was the winner just because I think her conditioning was just a little bit better overall.
Yeah, I thought like all three actually looked really good, and each of them had very individual pros,
Hmm.
across the physique. So all three of them, I thought, did a very exceptional job. And like you see in that photo there, they all deserve to be there and all deserve to have a trophy at their feet. So congratulations to all of those. I didn't actually get too much feedback given to Cora, but I'd said like nice presentation and overall condition. We probably could, again, I just think a little bit more development is going to be needed. Again, this is what we're judging, just a little bit more probably in through the back.
Yeah.
I would argue a wee bit more into the quads, I think would be very beneficial, particularly if you're trying to refine the condition a little bit more. Having a bit more tissue is going to make that process a little bit more lucrative as well. So those would be the pretty much the only critiques that I would actually give her. I thought she did a really good job.
Presented quite well as well. Looked bikini-esque because there's a certain look, especially within more of the physique classes, that I think is important in that presentation. We then have masters at bikini.
Oh,
Sorry, go ahead, mate.
let me see. So I want to make reference because I think I sent this out to it was yeah. So the girl in second, they're in the junior bikini. I'll just touch on these very quickly. Julia, yeah, she was the tall blonde girl.
Yep.
Really, really good, nice glute shape. Really tiny waist, tall structure. And again, it's just literally, I think, a little bit more development. And we know, like people with sort of longer levers and stuff, it just takes a little bit more time sometimes for those people to be able to fill out that frame the way that's required. But I'm telling you, she has got so much potential. That's why I didn't want us to just go on to the next category. She just needs to keep putting in the time and hours. This sport is definitely for you. So you have a great future, but just take time away from the stage. Be really productive. Make sure you're getting the correct guidance. Keep grounded. Keep doing the work, and next year you'll come back even better. The Finally, then the girl in third, who was Neve. I actually thought she looked really good. I said she just needs to transition a wee bit more.
Yeah.
She was a wee bit too slow as she moved on stage. In the poses as well. So these are just good things because again, she had a really nice physique, and I did like her stage presence, but how she articulated her movement was just a little bit too slow. So even as you're walking towards the back of the stage or walking towards the front, or as you're moving across, just a little bit quicker in your step and definitely a bit quicker in the transitions into your posing. But again, she's got a great future if she just takes those little things on board.
Strong class. Junior classes are getting very good. They really are across all
The
all
all
the. So yeah, Masters Bikini 35 plus. Uh,
Ooh,
Danielle, really nice
yeah.
physique, really good physique. Separation through the shoulders, through the arms. Like these Masters girls come in nice and tight. There's a different look to the bikini division when you get in the Masters again. It's that muscle, a little bit more matured, a little bit more granite. Yeah, she looked good. She looked very good.
I had great conditioning and overall presentation was the kind of things I'd said like the condition, good shoulder cap as you can see there, nice quad sweep. Um, I did say like she, the overall conditioning could be minutely better. Again that's fixable within a couple of weeks of just pushing a little bit more. But I'm literally just nitpicking there, just trying to find something that might just help improve the overall look.
Yeah,
But she did a fantastic job, mate, and deserved win.
nice quad sweep as well from the front there. Like I always like these, and it's not the most bikini-esque pose, but I like that like hard pose where you're just showcasing a little bit of leg detail, not crazy big through the quads, but enough there. Nice tight midsection. I like when there's separation without crazy separation in bikini through the shoulders and arms.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's actually a really nice physique, Danielle. There, I appreciate that physique. So.
Can you go back to that pose or last picture,
Yes.
just very quickly? Um, there. So yeah, I I thought all four did a great job. I do have the names here. I just can't remember the placing. But the girl in the red bikini, she's a very good physique. Posing definitely needs a lot of help. Like look at the back pose. She's like hinged the whole way back.
Yep.
If you can go to the back pose again, Arnie, if you can find that
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Look, she need like pushing the hip back. You're not getting more detail. You're also going to lean your back, which you're trying to present as well on stage, to the back of the stage. So you're actually going to lose the size that's there. She's a very good physique, but if she just needs to make sure you can see in that pose, and even if you can go to that front pose again.
Even there, with the shoulder just that little bit jocked up a little bit, loses the top line. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the way she's holding
So,
the arms there as well.
so with the knees bent and the hips pushed back, it just throws off the balance of the physique. I also think that, yes, I like the arms out to the side, but whenever they're up that high, you're going to be elevating your glenohumeral joint. You're also going to be elevating your scap, so you're going to lose some of the width in your lats in that pose. Your lats are going to look wider here, more of a V taper than here.
Yeah.
I'm talking in extreme here, but these here are easy fixes. If she takes that on, I thought she actually looked really good, as did all the girls in this class.
Yeah, because the physique's there. Again, it's just the posing, and it makes such a big difference compared to when you see the stage presence of somebody that is very polished on stage as well. I think now we're on
Yeah,
to Masters 45's Katrina. Katrina has a great physique. She was at the, I think she won the overall at the natural show, I believe, a couple of
she
weeks back.
did.
So yeah,
She did.
it's good physique, and I mean for I hear it talking age, like, but at 45, like again, like the condition that she brings, it doesn't look like, and I mean this with the most respect, it doesn't look old muscle. It doesn't look weathered. There's like the skin's very tight and very good still.
Yeah,
And again, it's a good level of development, the right sort of level of development through the delts into the arms, through the legs, where you see a little bit of detail. And that's the thing with bikini, because it's fine margins, but going too hard, but then you don't want to end up on the side where you're too soft and you're not seeing any sort of separation at all.
yeah. The She did a fantastic job. In reference to this show, um, yeah, I thought maybe like long term a little bit more, tiny bit more in the quads, and she'll be really impressive because that's going to bring a little bit more density to that look. You can see across her top line, shoulders look fantastic. I do think that she looked. You can actually see it there. She looked tighter at the naturals.
Yes.
It looked like her physique had faded a little bit. It looked a wee for me. It looked a wee bit more fatigued whenever she walked on stage, and so I don't know what the protocol that she had between the last show and this one, but it could be that same case, still pushing whenever actually her condition was pretty well balanced with the level of fullness that she had at the PCA Naturals.
I was going to say exactly the same there. It looked a little bit flatter compared to the centers when you have
Yeah,
that. That's what you want to be looking at. You want to be going show to show. How do you get better, refining that? And as you say, there's a little bit more fullness in the natural show as there was to
yeah,
the open show. Still, again, still a deserved winner, but we're looking at
yeah,
the bodybuilding is self improvement. You're trying to progress yourself. So, and it's all detail, it's all data. That's part of the fun of it as well. To be fair, like that's why we like doing shows. Is going, that worked. Oh, okay, you learn something and you just get better as an athlete from that. But you make a good point there that there's definitely a little bit flatter comparatively to where she was the last time around. We then have
yeah.
bikini short winner Anne Martin. Again, I think she competed as well in the last show. So it's interesting to be able to compare the week to weeks. So that was Anne. She won. I'm not sure how many was in the class. That was her this week. Yeah. Thoughts, James?
I really like Anne.
Mhm.
Simple statement. I thought like at the last show, she looked fantastic. She lost out on the overall. I think did
Uh,
yes, she did.
Katrina.
Yeah. For me, like in the last show, I did mention to her that I felt like there was definitely a confidence issue that she just needs to work on. I did actually feel like she looked a little bit more confident going into this show. Now I don't know whether it's because maybe you feel slightly less pressure as a natural whenever you're competing in the natural stage.
Yeah.
Some naturals, whenever they're competing in an untested show, the I know I can talk from experience. I feel like there's less pressure, so sometimes it's easier just to look more confident, and
Yeah,
because you don't have that pressure on yourself.
yeah.
But I don't know whether that was it or whether she did take on board what was said in the feedback after the last show. But I felt that she performed really well. I would say the overall look was very comparative to the last show.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't think there was anything lost. I don't think there was anything gained. I think she was able to replicate that physique, which it was obviously a very good physique. But with this show, she was able to have that plus a little bit better stage presence. Thought her posing was really good, and she looked like she was a wee bit more comfortable at this show as well.
I said the condition was good last time, so sometimes there's no more just to squeeze. Again, it's a worthy client, again, good condition. We then have bikini tall winner here. Again, these are the classes that I missed 'cause I was getting myself fairly ramped up for this one. So we got a couple of photos here. I think she may be the only girl in her class in this particular one, James, if I'm right in saying.
Yeah, she was.
So with this one as well, I'd like a little bit more through the delts and a little more condition. Especially when you see the girls that are challenging in the bikini overalls, they just come in a little bit tighter. They have that little bit more detail and separation, particularly through again, I'll say it again, through the delt cap and through the glute ham tie-in, a wee bit more development there as well a lot of the time. So, if we're comparing, right, okay, we won our class. Now the next phase is to go and challenge in an overall. Then they're the improvements that kind of need to be made. It's just a little bit more, it's more tissue through there and a little bit more tightness. I think that's something to be, like, it's not to bring anybody down, but it's for sure, like, we need a little bit more here. Could the posing be slightly better as well? I would say so.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I have actually, I'm in the feedback. I'd said great potential, but improved condition would definitely improve the overall look because it's going to bring more of that, a little bit more of the detail out, particularly from the back. You can also see like this is something that I've experienced with older, whatever. I don't mean older by age, but bikini athletes that I was training 10 years ago. They never wanted to train chest,
Yep.
right? So it's all delt. But you can actually, if you look at her photo there, if you can pull that back up again,
There's it. I get what you mean.
you can see the cap. You can see the cap of the delt, but the upper chest looks like it's like there. I would still have a little bit of development there, just to keep that top line nice and clean because the cap of the delts looks really, really good. She's actually got quite wide sort of clavicles as well, so she has the potential just to, with a wee bit more density in some of those spaces, just to really fill that X frame. So
Yeah.
it's actually there. I think she is quite tall as well, if I remember rightly. So whenever you're tall and you've got that sort of wider sort of clavicle width, and you just sort of just fill it out a wee tiny, tiny bit, it's going to be such an impressive physique. But this process, guys, is all about just it is a process which is reliant on progress. We as much as we want to walk on stage and just have perfect critique back, you're excellent, you're done. We don't really want that. What we want is okay. Well, if I want to climb this ladder, what do I need to move? What do I need to change? And I thought that she's got so much potential there. I would just like literally fill out some of the density, be a little bit harder in condition, and through the back, just a little touch. And I think that she's got a really good future as well. I thought her posing was very good too.
You say nice clavicle width as well. This is a class that I always very much enjoy. I'll be honest, it's one of my favorite classes actually of all the female divisions. It's bikini trained. Chloe,
Yeah,
well, it's a good look and it's a very, very good shot that. We talk about them round delts, separation of the arms. I think this must have been close enough. And don't follow her, give her a follow. This must have been fairly close in the overall. I'll just go back on
yeah,
your photo because even through the legs, like there's just a wee bit, obviously with the train bikinis, we're looking for a little bit more muscle, a little bit more condition. And you can see that like in abundance there. That's unfortunately the only shot I've got of her. But and midsection looks tight as well. Real nice V taper, almost an X frame. Like it's a good look. I mean, that this sort of look. I go, how far is this off being in the figure classes? You know, like as a judge there, James, because that's where some of these classes, like at that point, especially with the women's classes, can nearly like mold into each other. I find a little bit, and as a coach, I'm looking at that going, right? I mean, you could pose her as a figure competitor because there's a good level of detail and there's a really good level of muscularity there.
Nadia, that was sitting beside me, said exactly the same thing.
Mhm.
And actually, some of her posing was almost like more figure-esque
Yeah,
in how she was executing it. One the feedback that I'd given her about the posing, I wouldn't have the legs that wide and I wouldn't have them that bent.
yep,
And she was also doing it in her side poses as well. So I actually think that whenever you do that, I understand why people are doing it, but I do think that you trade off just the aesthetic of the look,
yeah, yep.
right, in pursuit of trying to showcase something that you feel it's going to be missing. I promise you, particularly with her level of muscle, I really like her. Really nice smile on stage. Again, nice and wide across that top line. Good overall muscle density. Condition I thought was condition. Just make sure that I've got all that right. Yeah, condition was really good. I would argue a tiny bit more detail in the quads, like a
Yep.
bit more condition in the quads will make that. But I'm saying that, but then I would like to see her hit the pose with the legs narrower and straighter, and I think that actually the detail, the appearance of the condition will actually be there.
Yes, you get more through that the VMO and into the lateral head of that quad, I think there for sure.
Yeah,
When you pose that hard, does it, does it become figure then? It's just, to me, this is always a tough class because of it. Because like, if she posed really hard there, I reckon you're right, it would bring out the detail. And then you're going, "Oh, maybe maybe that's a figure class there." So it's just an interesting one. I always find these classes interesting. There's a wee bit less disparity, I suppose, within the NPC and IFBB in these leagues because there's a quite a big difference in terms of level of detail and condition required for each class. Where within the PCA, because
yeah,
there is more women's classes there, it's like, whoa, where are we falling here? You're only playing that game as like, do we just pose it slightly differently or do we peak it slightly differently? But yeah, generally like that's it. She's a very, very, very good athlete. Been a tough call in the overall, which we're going to
yeah,
move into now. Yeah, I know this has been long, guys, but hopefully we're trying to cover each athlete as the best we can and give people a little bit of time to take something back with as well. So we will go into where is my bikini class overall? You're at the top one here. There's loads. Right. Okay, this is a good picture. So like we don't have many of the comparisons of these ones. Steven sent us these, just basically the lineup. But for me, the top girls here, they're pretty much the ones that are in the middle. We get Denise, the winner. We get the trained figure girl here. Let's forgot her name already. I like these four. To me, like you could really have had a shout here for the trained figure or the trained bikini girl winning this,
yeah.
but
Chloe.
and it's tough, isn't it? Because the wellness class is that little bit different than but as you say, it's who fits the class criteria the best. But
Yeah,
that's a close call for me. They're both excellent. They're the top two. They're both excellent. Horace stands out well in
that's
that as a junior.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. I think like all of them look that whole lineup looks really impressive. So
Strong.
everybody, a lot of the athletes in the outer skirts are like quite young.
Yeah,
They're in the younger divisions. They're going to move up. They're at some point they're going to be the ones closer to the middle in overall lineups in the future. They just got to stick with it. But for today, it was these girls in the middle really sort of probably stole the show a little bit more. And yeah, I do think that it wasn't clear 100% clear cut. There was definitely assessment. We're looking at pose for pose. Then you are having to factor in what is the criteria of each of those categories and who is fitting that best. So it's not just as straightforward as who's the best physique on stage. So people that are maybe in the audience not understanding that,
yeah.
like how did she win? How did she win? It's like no, if you had a picture of the ideal athlete behind each of those people, who is closest to that in alignment with that. So I think the decision in the end was right, but it was certainly close.
Yeah, it's a really strong lineup. I can see what Warren and that was saying about how that matches up in any English lineup really does because especially the top three or four girls, they're all of them, but the top three or four especially, it's a
Yeah,
strong lineup. Yeah, like I would give it to Denise there, but that's a close as a judge. That's a close call. Like that's a tough call because you're having to factor in that like whereas the class criteria don't forbid that one. Then we got the men's physique overall. Again, as you say, I don't like Reese pulling this vacuum at all. Especially when, as you say, it's midsection class. I'd take it any day of the week too. So I'd rather not see
yeah,
that. again, he is the clear winner, and I can see what we're saying about Shea there, especially in this pose. He's flatter than he was at the natural show. But I mean, Reese is the winner of this class. Just too much muscle, too
Yeah.
thick, uh, too well polished, too well seasoned. He's well seasoned, and I think that's a pretty clear win there for Reese in this class.
There's some people like after the show um, might be sort of looking at the likes of Reese and going, "Oh, he's more of a bodybuilder. He's thick muscle and whatever else." But people need to understand that at the higher levels, like once you go to the likes of the British and so on, the worlds, the men's physique guys are essentially they are bodybuilders with shorts on. Do you know what I mean? There is certain attributes that they should really have, like try to maintain the tight midsection. That should be important in bodybuilding as well. But there's an extra pressure on the men's physique as well. But yeah, I thought like Reese had a lot of loads of muscle. Does need to just drop down on those abs a little bit in the front. Yeah,
Yeah.
deserved winner, mate. He
Do
was
the legs make a
clear
difference,
winner there.
James? Do the legs make a difference? Because like it does fill the physique out a little bit more. And I can see what you say about going. Like I looked at school, you could do bodybuilding. If you wanted, if you went in that
Yeah,
direction, you'd probably do bodybuilding and do fairly well in it. But
I think he probably should for a bit of crack. If like the
yeah,
thing is, if you've got it, why not just jump in and do that at some point? But I think if his mind's on men's physique, just sort of focus on that, but doing the things we've said today, maybe just a little bit better. Make sure your presentation is strong. Make sure that you have the condition going through those transitions and stuff as well. I'm not sure if is he going to go and do the British. Obviously, he got an invite, so
Reece will do every show. He's doing NPC this week. He's going to do the British as well.
yeah,
He'll probably do the Worlds. Will
that'd be
Reece?
good.
He'd do the lot.
He
Right.
should. He should.
Where's my figure class here?
He can do well.
Ah, Stephen hasn't sent us the figure class overall. Unfortunately,
Can you
no,
go into? Oh no, they wouldn't. PCA Ireland don't have it up, do they?
won't have it up either.
No.
Mm, Unfortunately, I mean, like with this, well, we just pick up the overall picture here, like so well. But obviously, Jill went on to win that, which again, like the two figure winners were good. They especially the Korean athletic, the one down from Jill, but Jill is so pristine, so well polished, so well conditioned that like at any regional show, especially, she's going to be just incredibly hard to beat at that point. Now, it's nearly, and I mean this nicely, it's nearly a formality that Jill goes into these and wins it. I'm looking forward to seeing her challenged a little bit now because I think it'll raise her as an
Yeah,
athlete. It might give her even that little bit more confidence that she can go in and actually challenge at the next level. Because it does feel like a formality now, a little bit that when Jill's doing it, Jill wins Ireland, because her level
yeah,
of competition, it's just, and she's put on muscle this year too. A lot of the time in the right places, brought her back up, brought her legs up a little bit, brought her delts up, like through her chest, fucking nutty. It's just
yeah.
been,
So you can see in what I like actually when and that was the first thing I noticed. Whenever she was on stage getting these photos taken, her legs went on and stayed on.
hmm,
But just whenever she was going through the sort of comparison stuff, there was times whenever the her legs were going on and just kind of softening out in the contraction. So just as she moves forward into these next shows, just like pose it off the bone. Do you know what I mean? Just make because if you have that sort of level of detail which she has, you just got to show it. She's just absolutely incredible, mate. Like I was just that makes me just so happy whenever you see somebody that's hard work. That is, it's good guidance as well by Wardy. So we'll
yeah, they're a good team. Like right, we will go into. I've got some decent shots of these comparisons now from the bodybuilding overall. Big lineup here. Obviously,
yeah,
the winners of each class. We had Andreas being the winner of that. Again, I thought he deserved it. I thought before going into it, ones had said about Adrian, they said potentially I would challenge, which was it's like hearing my name mentioned in that. I don't mean to be narcissistic and talk too much here, but obviously that's my podcast, so I'm going to talk
yeah.
about my
All
time.
about Neil Rennie. All about
Yeah.
Neil Rennie.
But it was to be heard that I might be challenged. It was like, what? Like, again, even at the PCA Midlands there, when somebody said, I think you're, second or third there, I was like, nah, I thought it was fourth. And so I'm only starting to realize that, oh, I'm actually decent enough at this now. So I got into that with I felt like no pressure until people started saying, here, you might take some of these boys here. So to be standing that, I think probably uh, Andreas definitely the winner. I think it was actually close enough. Looking at it between myself and Adrian there, and I think if Ernie was posing himself better, he'd have been good. And I think Cuba, he's the kind of guy that's going to smoke us all in a couple of years' time. That's the thing. But he's just not there from that, like we talked about, that granite hard look yet. When we look at some of the quarters, Adrian's on the outside there at that point. We got Ernie and we get Andres. I'll try and get one where the three is in the middle here. Yeah, so this quarter turn here, front double. It's a close call there. I'd see what you say about Adrian being slightly maybe too wide with the legs there, trying to almost pose too
Yeah,
big when he's already the biggest guy there.
yeah.
Again, he's imposing in the front lat shots, side chest. They're close. They're close. When you look at the pictures, it's different when you look at the video, I think, as well. You can see somebody sort of stand out a little more. I think Andrea stands out a little bit more in the video than he does just within the
The side
picture.
trice, you take the side tricep there. It's definitely your pose. Arguably, I think your back. If it's not from the back profile, if you straighten them legs up a little bit, throw one of the legs back, spike that calf, um, it's going to just create this. You will get the condition with that pose, but you'll also be able to just create better balance from top to bottom. That would be you're going to push for that shot as well.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to argue with Adrian's overall size, but like he does know that there's a few things that he needs to work on in terms of development. So that's if that project kicks off in the right way, then he can come back and clean up a few shows quite easily.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, when I look at it, I think Andreas definitely the winner for me. I think actually it was a close call between myself and Adrian for second or third. No, not that that matters, but just a really strong lineup, and I think all like the majority of the overall lineup, especially had the figure overall lineup, but the overall lineups in general were very very good. Were very good, and I think it's something that to be like commented on there as well. And it's like with these sort of photos here, when you can really see like the level of condition brought, like some of the photos like, it never does it justice in photos. When you see the videos, I know you sent me a few videos over, and I was very very pleased with as well. But yeah, just I think like a lot of quality all around. So I was happy with the presentation. I was happy being up there. Andreas, like I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do if he can come in a little bit tighter as well over the next few weeks, just through the legs and through the rear. Like I think he can do a bit of damage at the British finals.
I think so, and it's like Andreas actually turned PCA Pro in men's physique the same weekend at the British that I did back in 2022, and then obviously went into Project Bodybuilder and has come back and they've done a fantastic job, mate. Because that transition isn't always easy. So it's really good to see that coming back. But obviously, if he turns pro, he's in classic short. That's there's no height classes in the pro division in the classic bodybuilding. So I'm just chucked in amongst everybody, like, which is can be kind of daunting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you hold your own, James. Like, and I think that's the thing that one of the take homes for me this season, just to sort of wrap things up here a little bit, because we've spent a lot of time there as well on that. So hopefully people got from it. But
yeah,
condition, condition is so so important. You can beat a lot of people if you're coming in super tight, hard, grainy. Letting that mature as well, as you said, like that's one a really good point, is letting that mature and not knowing when to go, right, that's enough. We don't need to push
yeah,
anymore. Like we're losing that physique from doing that, knowing when to feed it, and then mastering your craft, not just mastering your training, not just mastering nutrition, mastering the art of being on stage, and getting people to buy into you because that's important. You want people to watch you, not take their eyes off you. I think
yeah.
that's a big aspect that I've learned, and it's being again around people like you because I spoke to you last year, and that was one of the things I was like, right, I'm. I'm going to master this. I'm going to do this as best I can with this posing, with my posing routine. Even if it's not judged, it's me putting myself on stage and showing my art. And it's something that I took very personal. I was going to get posing lessons, and I was like, no, I want to own this process because this is my personality on that stage. And I take a lot of pride in that.
I think it's absolutely fine to be self-coached. As long as you're the type of person that just doesn't. You're your quality control. This is the thing. You're the head chef. You know what I mean? It's okay to make mistakes, but that if the mistake doesn't leave the kitchen. It's
Yeah.
exactly the same with posing. Whenever don't just go into that posing studio and pose for 20 minutes. You know, the phrase I always use is practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. If you go in and you pose incorrectly in that room over and over again, at the end product is still going to be wrong. You need to be able to analyze what does that pose look like. How could if I do this? So I would live like when I self-taught myself back in 2014 how to pose. Um, all I did was each pose, like same as side chest. I was like holding the pose there. Then I'm rotating a little bit more, rotating a wee bit more. I'm lifting the shoulder up. I'm doing all those. And this is in a video. And then I'm taking stills of each one and then putting them beside each other and going, right, what looks best?
Yeah.
That's the way I need to pose. And I did that with all my compulsories. And it wasn't perfect, but it was still pretty good. It was probably one of the best on stage. But years later, I still do that same process. So that is a good little bit of advice for people. Assess your physique, particularly your start off with your statics. Don't be worried about trying to be too fluent in your transitions. Hit your static poses and cement them. Hit your punctuation mark. Hold, 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 and then once you've got the statics right, then you worry about being elegant in transitions. But
Yes.
the thing is, always nitpick, be your quality control before you allow that to be released into the wild on that stage in front of a room full of people. And like any critique that we've given here today, even if it's posing, if it's something that has got a short term fix, then it's never too early to start it. Now is probably the right time.
And it's what I say, like fair play to everybody that gets on that stage. Like it takes balls. Like there's a lot of people
Yeah,
maybe signed up this year that didn't get there, that didn't make it to stage. Like it sounds cheesy. Get in there and knowing that you've given it your all. Okay, that there's maybe another level that you can achieve. You'll unlock that as you go. Like when it comes to people's conditioning, there's always another level. With muscular, there's always another level. But getting there and actually presenting your all at your best at that particular point in time, it's a credit, and especially standing in front of people that are going to critique you. You know, that is the
yeah,
nature of the sport. So I hope everybody really appreciates this because there is a lot of time and effort that goes into this. Obviously, it's like nearly a 2 hour podcast, and James is taking notes. You know, he's given everybody a huge amount of value. It's something that I really respect and admire about James. He takes the time to be able to give you that. You know, even with the when he was doing all the typing, I'm sure there was fucking his head was turned because he's a busy man, anyways. And he's come on this podcast and spoke for 2 hours. So I really appreciate it. I appreciate your feedback towards me. It's something that I'll be implementing, and I hope that I can do it justice over the next 2 or 3 years, and you'll be one of the men that I thank for it as well, James. So I really appreciate your time and efforts doing this.
yeah. Thank you very much. And look, anybody watching this, I'm going to say it for Neil. You've got to like and subscribe and do all the good things. Like this is a guy that's taken his own time. Yes, he loves the sport, but behind that, the push is really about trying to push natural or push Irish bodybuilding, natural assisted bodybuilding. It's all the same thing. We're all doing the same pursuit. It's just the pursuit of better. So everybody needs to get behind Neil, give him that support. Don't and we're not asking, do it. Hit the subscribe button because there's going to be more content Neil's going to be producing here with one more show to do. Hopefully he'll cover some of his stuff as well. He'll carry this on into the off season and then with a full season ahead next year. So get behind it.
Appreciate that, James. Yeah, it's a passion project and something that I've absolutely loved doing, connecting with people, and I think it really has. From what I've seen at the weekend, there, it's made an impact, which was one of my main goals this season, whether it be on stage or off stage, is to make an impact and then carry that through. You know, we have up this weekend, you clients. There's is NIB. What do you know that? Do you know the score? Irish Natural Bodybuilding Federation on this week.
No, I've got the PCA Naturals on Sunday here. We're flying out to Wolverhampton. So I have four athletes competing there on Sunday. And I have another one that's also competing in Perth, Scotland at the BMBF British Finals. That's my over 70s
That's right.
athlete
Yes, I've seen
uh,
them.
who, who won the over 70s last week and just absolutely peeled. Incredible guy. But the team that we have on Sunday, I honestly believe they're going to do some really really good damage, like because
Stand out.
they put the work in, and I'm just really excited to see that we're spending the whole weekend. It's mine and Dale's 15-year anniversary as well the weekend. So at the end of it, there's going to be a whiskey, a cigar, and some good times because there's only one of the athletes after Sunday that's in this group that's going to keep competing. The other three are going to be downtime in it. So let's
You need
go.
that. You need that. It's a lot of work, man, as well. So we get that this weekend, obviously. So good luck to everybody in that. We've got the NPC muscle contest in Ireland, where there'll be a lot of guys from the Derry show going. I'm heading over to the UK BFF British Finals to end it there. Coming in full as a house against these guys. The weight cap that goes 90, it used to be 100 kilo, 90 to 100 kilo, 100 kilo plus. They went scrap the 100, 90 plus. So in with the big boys. So we're going to come up and a little bit heavier this week. Everyone's been a little bit heavier. But as I say, guys, honestly, James, I appreciate your time. I appreciate everybody watching. I hope everybody can give us some good feedback. As James says, like, share, subscribe, follow, tag people as well. We get behind this because this is literally just the start of this. I plan on rolling this out a lot more, especially next year when I have a little bit more energy and I'm not doing back-to-back shows. But listen, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I appreciate your time, James, a lot, mate.